Hey everyone. Well, earlier this week we got the news that beloved voice actor and director Chris Ayres had passed away, and he did have like a lung transplant. I remember I did a video earlier in my YouTube channel's existence that he needed help with the medical bills for getting treatment for the lungs and then getting ready for the lung transplant, and thankfully at the time he did, and I guess it managed to prolong his life much longer. I mean, and then I heard he was back in the hospital back in, I think, spring of this year of 2021, and I was like, oh wow, well, knowing Chris, he'll hopefully get out of it, because he has before. But, he was still kind of keeping us up to date on Twitter, us fans. And he was going to be, being put in surgery. And it got delayed by a day, but then he went in and finally got it. So, we were all happy for him at that time and stuff. And after that, I just kind of just thought, let him recover and he'll get out and we'll start hearing from him again. But unfortunately, the next time we heard about him was his passing by his girlfriend, Crystal. And I saw that and I was just, I'm struggling to put it into words. They just came at me suddenly, like I teared up, pretty badly, while almost making like hiccup sounds, like not an actual hiccup, but and I met the guy like quite a few times, like at least two or three times here in San Japan, at the conventions, and then once at IkiCon. And I'll tell you my story about my last meeting with Chris Ayres. He was a guest along with his brother and Andrew Love, and as a voiceover guest at IkiCon in Austin, which happens around New Year's weekend. And this was in IkiCon 2016, I believe. And I hadn't seen him at any panels lately. That was because at IkiCon I typically only attend for like one good day. It's typically Saturday. But of course, from now I'm going to see if I can change that. But he was in the back of the hotel outside on the balcony. He was using a cane at the time, and he was talking to Andrew Love, along the border of the balcony. And I had just gotten out of the dealer's room, and I walked up to them and I just said, hey guys, how you all doing? And they're like, oh, we're fine, man, we're marvelous, we're doing all right, stuff. And I had met up with Andrew Love earlier in the day after his autograph session, so he was already like familiar with me a little bit. And I think Chris was too. Like, I think I may have to have refreshed his memory a bit about our previous meetings at San Japan, and because he at the time said that, yeah, San Japan was invited me consecutively as a guest for about 5 years or so, so he was very familiar with San Japan, and the staff and all that. And then of course I had mentioned about how I've been doing earlier, and I said I just got out of the dealer's room. I bought a Borderlands t-shirt, with Claptrap on it, for my cousin whose birthday was the following day. But I actually drove straight from IkiCon that night to go straight back home, because he was celebrating, around New Year's, because that's how he celebrates his birthday. And Chris actually mentioned that he had auditioned for Borderlands, and he was saying that to Andrew, and I was like, oh really? Because then I remember that in Borderlands, the video games, a lot of the voice actors in there, are voiceover talent from English dub anime. He reminded me like, yeah, like Borderlands, yeah, like has a big cast from the anime voiceover community. And well, that was just a nice little tidbit for him to know. And then we talked a little bit more. I mentioned a bit about, you know, my plans for New Year's, since that was New Year's Eve, 2016, you know, going into 2017. And I had to go, I was getting closer to the time I was supposed to leave. I just wanted to like say like any last minute like, you know, goodbyes to like any of my friends I met, or any cosplay pictures that I may have missed, you know. And on the main floor of the Renaissance Hotel in Austin. And I know there was, on one part of the main area, there was a masseuse where you can get massages. I guess that was hired by the hotel or for the convention. And I remember I saw Chris actually getting a back massage, and I couldn't really see his face, you know, because it was one of those, you know, reverse seats that you sit on with your head down, and that was the last time I saw Chris. You know, he did look relaxed, and I didn't get to like shake his hand one more time or say bye, but I think I did, like when we were all going back into the hotel after talking outside in the back of it. But it was a pleasant memory. And so Chris, like, you know, you took over the voice of Frieza, you know, once the Dragon Ball Kai was made, and then you became, you know, the voice of Frieza after Linda Young stepped down, or her role was recast from the original Funimation dub of DBZ. And I have to admit, when I first heard it on TV, you know, I wasn't used to it, because, you know, I had only heard Linda's voice as Frieza up until then. So it took me a bit of getting used to hear the new Frieza voice. And then of course I heard it was Chris Ayres, and I was like, oh, that's you know, Chris getting the role. And then I started watching more of it, especially in Super, and I actually got, you know, I got, you know, used to Chris's voice as Frieza. It kind of grew on me, and I was like, yeah. And then of course when I bought Dragon Ball Fighters, and then I learned about some episodes where Damon Mills also was voicing Frieza, I guess during sessions when Chris was unavailable due to his health, you know, because that was around the time he started to experience those health problems. And Damon does a pretty good job too. They're almost indistinguishable. And I'm sure, like, you know, like he got some consulting from Chris as well, like Damon and stuff, because they knew each other. You know, they actually became friends, according to Damon. After, you know, Chris passed, Damon was posting a lot about, like, he, you know, just feels like he lost his best friend. And yeah, like, I just think that, you know, it's a dark time, of course, for anime, you know, the community as a whole. And he was like a genuine good person, like no matter like who you were, you know, or what you believe, or, you know, where you stand. And he, like, everybody, you know, just had good things to say about him. So, you know, including myself. And he also said some good things to me. I remember when I first met Chris at San Japan, it was in a section of the convention center that no longer exists, but there is one wall of that room that's still up. It's the really large one, which is what the top photo is. It was from that moment where that photo was taken. He was sitting with Crystal by a bench on the wall. Only Crystal was sitting on the bench, and he was sitting on the floor. They were just kind of holding hands and just kissing each other, you know, quite often, as we were all talking to each other, and I was talking to them as well. Since it was my first time meeting Chris at this moment, you know, I did, of course, introduce myself, told them what I do, and terms of filming for San Japan conventions. And at the time I was kind of big at the Capcom forums, or I had just stopped talking about it because that was when it was kind of starting to go out. But I said, yeah, like I pay attention to like the Ace Attorney series, and I showed him my Capcom forum post about all the links I spent a whole like day on, whatever, posted, and he was just wow, like that was Chris's reaction. And I know it was nothing like, you know, super big, you know, like for it, but I did like how he reacted to it as if it was. So I kind of put a smile to my face a little bit, and he said, yeah, like, you know, the new Ace Attorney game was coming out, since we were still talking about Capcom and the forums and the Ace Attorney and all that stuff. And they said, I think he's getting the character of Phoenix Wright, you know, at the time is getting his official voice actor, and it's Sam Riegel. And Chris was like, oh yeah, Sam is great, you know, like he will, you know, I don't no problem with him voicing someone like Phoenix, or he'll probably do well, he'll probably not. And yeah, he did. And then of course the Ace Attorney anime came out like way, you know, later, years later, and now Eric Vale's the voice of Phoenix Wright in the anime. We talked a little bit there, and after that, and then that's when I got up and I said, you know, let's take this picture. I think we were waiting for a panel to start, and Chris was just there super early with Crystal, because it was just outside like one of the main panel rooms that existed at the time that unfortunately, like I said, no longer exists. It's one of the old wing of the convention center. I believe it may have been it was the 18 up only you know, voice actor convention, where actors can just talk to fans or just say anything, you know, uncensored, unhinged, no restrictions. But of course I can't talk about anything that happened, but all I'll say is we laughed a lot, you know. And Chris was actually like the one that held the mic for a time, just, you know, dead center of the whole table of all the voice actors, just looking like he was in control of like who gets the mic there, who had the multiple mics and stuff. But it was a good times, and I'm just happy to share this memory with you guys, and just wish Chris and his family and Crystal our condolences, and our thoughts are with them. But Chris, yeah, I'm glad I got to help you out with the donation video I did when you were trying to get your lung transplant. I just hope that my message reached more than I was planning. And your brother Greg, I got to meet finally after a few times, and you know, I got to hug him. I got my photo with Greg as well, and he also, of course, being a loving brother, fought for you too. And I'm just, you know, that just makes me happy, and you know that we all did that. Even though Chris, that you're no longer here with us, I mean, we're gonna be always thinking about you and grateful for the legacy you left on this earth, and for the community and everybody who even not only met you but even knew of you and what you did for everything. You were just a constant, you know, hard worker for the anime community here in America, and English dubbing, just constantly watching anime, getting the shows ready for directing sessions and voice acting on the side, and man, you just didn't stop, and your contributions are really felt today, you know, from the years you worked and even now, for where we watch the shows, even from like now and in the future. So Chris, I'm glad I got to meet you. And the fans who didn't get to meet you, who at least know of you, you know, they're glad to, if I see your work and you know, see your work that makes them happy as it did me and others. Rest in peace, Chris. And love and laughter always.